might be the biggest thing that's ever happened.
Wherever there is injustice, you will find us. Wherever there is suffering, we'll be there. Wherever liberty is threatened, you will find
the three AmiVO's. Dave McRae, Garnet Williams, Mike Pongracz. Separately, they are humble Canadian voiceover superstars. Together, they are the three AmiVO's.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
And now, the AmiVO's and Friends Super-Funtastic Happy Hour VOdcast.
Everyone ready?
Yeah.
Hit it.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Are we back? Are we recording?
For reals.
For reals.
For
we're
reals.
actually
For
reals. We're actually back.
We're back.
You mean the three AmiVO's are back?
Yeah.
In 2014.
2014. This is
Don't call it a comeback. We've been here for years.
L Amivo Garnet.
Oh, he
I
is
love
just,
it. I can't
Make
top
it
that.
official.
I don't
drop
think,
that down. Give it to me.
Can.
Give it to me.
And we're back!
There we go. Welcome to the 10th episode, the extended 10th episode.
This is exciting.
This is exciting.
This is really exciting.
Of the AmiVO's and Friends Super-Funtastic Happy Hour VOdcast.
He's got it.
It's only taken me a year to get it.
Although I will say, it's happy hour, but I don't ever see any alcohol around here.
No. But I do see you have some clear liquid in your cup.
Yes.
Could be vodka.
You could make it vodka.
It's vodka.
Now he's tittering. He's tittering. So in our time off, we've kept an eyeball on the Facebook groups and sort of seeing what topics are coming up. One that is kind of close to home, just because I just came back from the Griswold family vacation to Florida.
Ah, yes.
And then I see my fellow AmiVO brethren here, Garnet, posting about your vacation, and you're looking to get a travel rig together.
Yeah, because I haven't had use for one in the past, but this time I'm going to be down for a week staying in hotel rooms, and I don't want to miss out on any auditions that my agent sends me, but I also don't want to have any of my clients that might need a quick turnaround done, have to tell them, oh, well, I'll be back next week. So I decided this time I was going to bite the
Makes
bullet
sense.
and get myself a little travel rig.
So, and as far as traveling goes, I mean, there's a lot of different schools. Some people don't like to take a rig at all. Some just say they want to shut down when they're on vacation, which I find very difficult to do. But I mean, I don't know, Dave, you're good at doing that. You're good at shutting down.
Yeah, I am. But I have to admit, I mean, even when I try to shut down, there are moments when the thought will creep back into my head. I wonder if I'm missing anything.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be doing something. Maybe, and then I sort of forget about it, and
you go back
it's
to
okay.
your vacation.
But I have to admit, I have yet to be on a vacation, where I have prepared myself to do work remotely.
Right.
I've yet to do that. I have the equipment to do it, but I've yet to actually bite the bullet and say, okay, I'm going to go on vacation, but it could be a potentially working vacation.
So if you're planning on an extended vacation, there's a couple of different ways to do it. I mean, if you know where you're staying, if there are some studios nearby, and the VO community is really good that way in that if you need a place where you're going, if you throw it up on Facebook, and I totally forgot Sunspots has a place in Orlando. So if I needed a good studio, I could have called up and said, hey, I just need to get some studio time. If you want to take a travel rig, I take a shotgun mic, and I have a Focusrite iTrack Solo. I bring my MacBook. I've got headphones, and I use my phone for script reading in that sense. So you can do that. The car is an awesome place to record. Like, I mean, are you flying down, or are you driving?
We are flying.
Okay, so, but are you getting a rental car?
No.
Okay, so you'll probably have to be.
So he gets to the airport and he walks.
Yeah. We had the car because we did the Griswold trip.
Yes.
And I would just park myself in the back seat
with Aunt Edna or no Aunt Edna.
She was dead by that point.
Okay.
And then I'd grab my daughter's blanket and wrap it. I don't know what they're called. The handle, like the holy shit handles.
Yeah, the holy shit.
JC handles.
Yeah, that's when I drive. That's that.
Yeah.
So you've got that over the one side, and then sort of a pillow behind me. The headrest is used as the mic mic mount, and it works just fine.
Sure.
You can, depending on what you want to do. I mean, the Apogee mic, that's something that I've heard of, but I've never really worked with it.
I've heard of it too, but I've never used it.
I haven't used it either, but I asked about it just because for the price point, you can't go wrong. It's one of the better USB mics out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people tell me that they've used it for auditions. I've had people tell me they've used it for actual sessions, and it held up. It's got a built-in compressor, built-in mic pre.
Right.
So it definitely cuts down on the amount of gear you have to take with you.
Yeah, which is nice.
It's compact in size. And you just plug it into your iPhone, your iPad.
Now, how much is that mic?
That mic currently is like $229 or something like
That's
that.
not bad.
That's not bad at all.
And I mean, yeah, the less gear you have to take with you, the better.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to a recording space. If you're going to be in a hotel, I mean, we saw when we were in San Antonio, you can do some great things with pillows.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Hotel furniture, like thick blankets. It depends where you're staying. If you're staying at a lesser motel, you won't get the good thick sheets.
That's right.
But if you're staying at the Four Seasons, you'll get the Dan Leonard studio. You stay at the Four Seasons, you get the Dan Leonard studio suit sheets.
That's right.
That's it. But again, some people they get very creative. Some people take a lot of stuff. Some people don't.
Some
take
people put like make forts.
Yeah, well, one of the
and
best,
they get underneath the comforters and the pillows.
One of the coolest setups I saw, and Garnet, you know the guy, Jeff Berlin,
Yeah.
who does imaging for a radio station nearby.
He's also the voice of A&E.
Right, and he had like his setup was immense. Like he had pillows, and it looked like a teepee, and he had.
I'm pretty sure he brought in like a tribe of engineers to like help him design this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
George Whittam was in his
It was
carry-on luggage.
acoustically sound.
So there are definitely ways you can travel on the
George.
road, and I mean Joe Cipriano was the inspiration for me for recording in the back of the car.
Well, that's what's so cool.
If he can do network promos
I'd
for
never-
CBS from the back of his car, I think we can
That's
do
exactly
some
it.
regional or some national spots
I would never
too.
have even thought of the car.
If you are going on a vacation and you want to tune out, that's fine too, because you'll be fine for a week.
Yes.
It's the 2 weeks that got me all nervous. However, the nice bonus side is if you do work while you're on vacation, you can pay for the vacation.
There you go.
Yes,
Reason
yes.
enough.
There's always
you go.
reason enough. You talked about luck. We lucked out with our guest today.
He's the real deal.
He's the real deal.
He's the real deal.
And we need to sort of pull the curtains back here.
Yes.
Because most vodcasts that we've done, actually all the vodcasts at this point, we've had the guests, we've been doing the shows in real time. This time we had to do the interview sort of outside of doing the show.
That's right.
Which is a good thing because
Yes.
our conversation with our guest today worked out to what amounts to 2 episodes.
Yes.
And he will be, which is perfect because it is our 10th episode and our 1-year anniversary. It should be a supersized
Yes.
episode.
It should be. It should be.
So, but we haven't decided yet. Is it going to be episode 10 and 11 or episode 10 and 10A?
Well, I think it should be episode 10A and episode 10B.
Okay.
Therefore, episode 11 can be something completely different.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough. So it's an extended edition of episode 10.
That's right.
So we're going to break the interview up into 2 parts. Our guest, big kudos to AmiVO Garnet for snagging this guy.
Thank you.
Well, finally, the shit we pay him is paying off.
Exactly.
The man is so
I mean-
damn talented. It was only a matter of time until somebody saw how huge he was.
And we're the first.
Well, we're the second.
maybe not the
and
first.
Third. With Rob
We're on
Paul.
the list.
We're on the list.
We're on the list.
But
First Canadians.
First Canadians.
There
That's
you go.
right.
And that's another thing. He's Canadian.
Canadian. So, which is great. So, for the 10th episode, we get a Canadian, a very quality talent who's doing amazing things in LA.
Yes.
And we haven't even mentioned his name yet. Go
No, we
ahead.
haven't.
You found him. You go ahead.
Today on the AmiVO's and Friends Super-Funtastic Happy Hour Vodcast, our 10th episode, our special guest is the lovely and talented Eric Bauza.
Eric Bauza.
Wow.
And if you do not know who Eric Bauza is, you open up another window in your browser right now or on your smartphone. Do a search for Eric Bauza on IMDb.
Yes.
You don't know Eric Bauza? You know Eric Bauza. You just don't know Eric Bauza.
Exactly.
There you go.
He has got a bag full of voices, a great story that we had to split up into 2, and some
Yes.
great nuggets. If you are a voice actor who wants to get into animation, who has dreams of going to LA to be in animation, or just loves the business, this is the guy that.
And this is the kind of guy that if you are serious about the industry, if you're passionate, if you've got talent, if you're determined, you're motivated, all those things that, everybody talks about that, you got to have. This is the kind of guy who you hope to meet to be even a mentor in some sort of fashion. I don't mean him specifically, but the kind of guy he is. He's honest, he's genuine, he's real, he's funny.
Happy to be there.
Happy to be there. Yeah. He's got positive energy about him. And if you want... He's the kind of guy that you want to meet along the way to point you in the right direction. I
will tell you this: we are fawning over him now. You haven't even listened to the interview yet.
I'm drooling.
As a voice talent who's in in the trenches. Yeah, this is the kind of interview that you come away inspired.
Yeah,
that's by his success. You don't come away going, "Yeah, God, why him, not me." No, you come away going, that guy, I want to do what he does, and I can. We're going to get.
If you're thinking about turning this off, don't.
No, don't.
This is the kind of interview you want to listen to. For everybody out there. Problem. For everybody out there.
We've reached
the problem. This is what you got to do.
No, we've built it up too much. We've built it up too much.
No, he's too sexy.
He's too sexy.
He's too sexy.
He's too sexy. No. He's too sexy. We chat with the uber talented and Canadian,
yes,
voice talent Eric Bauza when we come back after this iceberg tip on the AmiVO's and Friends Super-Funtastic Happy Hour VOdcast 10th edition extended. Woo! Woo!
The 3 AmiVO's.
Warning. We'll be right back.
Changing the voiceover industry 1 toque at a time.
We're going to take a little break, but we'll be back in a while, so don't nobody go nowhere.
Here's another 3 AmiVO's iceberg tip.
Hey, it's AmiVO Mike. Now, I know this may sound crazy, but it's okay to say no. By that I mean, it's okay to say no to a client or a project that just isn't sitting right with you. Maybe it's the content. If you're not comfortable putting your voice to a message that you don't believe in, it's okay to say no. If you feel the rate is below what you feel is reasonable and the client won't budge, it's okay to say no. Don't feel pressured to say yes to something just because you're worried there won't be another gig or client coming down the pipe. It's kind of like one of the internet rules my wife and I have come up for our kids. If it feels wrong, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Now, if it feels wrong and you're saying yes because you need the money, that's a whole other can of worms that would indicate that you might be in this for the wrong reasons. Do it for the right reasons, and the money will come. It may take time and hard work, but trust me, it's a better way to build a successful and lengthy VO career.
And now, the AmiVO's and Friends Super-Funtastic Happy Hour VOdcast.
Everyone ready?
Yeah.
Hit it.
And welcome back to the I always screw this up. The 3 AmiVO's Super-Funtastic Happy Hour VOdcast.
Very good, Michael.
It's been so long since we've done an actual show.
Well, this is our first show
in a few months.
2014.
It is. And it's stellar. No doubt. It's stellar. And I mean, in our podcast, we tend to, we have all walks of VO life.
That's right.
And but we do like to focus on the Canadian voiceover talents.
That's exactly correct.
And
if there are any.
Garnet gets the win on this one. He gets the huge win on this one because Garnet was the one who said, "Hey, I've got a guy."
That's right.
And
he's so nice because when I tweeted, "Hey, I'm following you," he followed me back.
That's a good thing.
That's a very good thing.
When I sent him a friend request on Facebook, he accepted it almost right away. He just genuinely seemed like a nice guy, and of course, he's Canadian.
Yeah. Well, did he apologize?
Which explains
for
why he was
back?
so nice.
He apologized for taking too long to follow back.
Oh, that's what it was. That's
I see.
What it was.
You see?
On the line, all the way from beautiful somewhere south. I don't know.
Somewhere south. Well, southwest,
somewhere in there. Eric Bauza joins the program.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, and he just put on the radio. Hello.
Yes. Now I can talk normal. Before I was just talking like
this is his real voice.
This
by the way.
This is the real voice.
Well, this is like when you were growing up. Did you ever watch SCTV at all?
Oh my God! Okay. I think that's the only thing that we had on.
I mean, how could you not?
And City TV's late great movies.
Yes.
Well, but the one sketch that I think I posted on the Facebook not too long ago was the one where Bob and Doug McKenzie go to an Ian Thomas show, and they go backstage and they want to interview him, and then he goes, "Oh, you guys are Canadian," and then he breaks into take off, I only talk normal for all the American record producers, but then when I'm with my my guys here.
That's right.
So, do you get that? I mean, how long have you been down in LA now? Like, what's the time frame?
I think in the last 7 years, for sure, on this work visa that I've magically obtained through Nickelodeon. I actually, the first time I was ever out here was like 99, 2000. Okay. For an internship that I had at Spumco, working for another fellow Canadian, John Cristofalusi, the creator of Ren and Stimpy. So that was, I was doing that as part of my curriculum at Centennial College in Toronto.
We couldn't figure out if you were a Sheridan guy or a Centennial guy, but you're a Centennial guy. Okay.
It's so strange. Yeah, they had this program, RTV, radio, television, and film. Yeah. And it's just the most bizarre thing because I wanted to do animation. I was actually, before I got into voiceover, I was actually more of like a cartoonist. And I did apply to Sheridan for animation. And that was when it was really hot and bumping over there. Like, Disney was scooping up all sorts of animators, and I kind of chickened out. I got through like the first round of I was like, oh, this is like a lot of pressure, and then I grew feathers and laid some eggs, and then I just decided to just do radio, television, and film, and I really fell in love with the radio aspect of it, and I was like, oh man, I wonder if I could do voices, but I still want to draw, and I was just all mixed up because I wanted to do animation. I bailed, and then I went to school for like on-camera production and all that stuff, and then I end up interning at an animation studio.
That's so bizarre.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, it was all over the. Yeah, I mean, it's, as you know, it's like in this life, you just never know sometimes what's going to lead you, like what paths are going to lead you down where you're finally going to end up being, and it just so happens that that's just how it worked out. A lot of the friends that I made at the internship after that was done, I moved back to Toronto and finished school, and then a lot of them were like, you should move back, and everyone split up. They all started working at different places like Nickelodeon and Warner Brothers Animation, and I guess I just took a chance.
Well, and you're like, okay, and I'm back in the hood, and what am I doing? I gotta go back down, like at LA. Now, in those 7 years, though, have you lost, or do people still say, yeah, you got this funny accent thing going on?
Oh man, that's the funny thing is sometimes I'll head to Vancouver for a voice gig and then come back and suddenly I'm Canadian again.
That's the David Kay syndrome, isn't it? Though. Like,
yes. Who's a good buddy actually. We are pitching a show hopefully together soon. Yeah, we got a couple ideas, but another great Canadian transplant from actually originally from Peterborough.
That's right.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
right. And he was a radio guy too. Now, when you decided you were going to do radio, like, did you go full on radio for a bit?
I was it's funny because I really, really wanted to try. And at the time, Spumco, John didn't really have anything going on. He had nothing on TV, and this was before Ripping Friends, which was like after Ren and Stimpy, and it was like a Canadian Fox Kids co-production.
Okay,
and I think that was like one of the first. I mean, they have a lot of Canadian shows in production now, like animated shows, but they're usually just made in Ontario and then they get sold to broadcasters here.
Right.
But Ripping Friends was one of those ones that was like, okay, we're going to do half American, half Canadian, and it was just kind of like a different thing, and I don't think it was really common at the time, but now it seems like there's like co-productions happening all the time between US, France, I think India has like a huge animation like like a boom there, and Vancouver and especially Ottawa, there's a really good studio called Mercury that exists over there, and
In Ottawa?
Yeah, Ottawa has a really
it's becoming this hotbed. What
the hell? Ottawa.
They call it Ottawa now.
Ottawa.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice. So you go down, you do your internship. Now, okay, so you're radio, television, and you go to do an internship for animation.
Animation is so weird. It was just like,
what do they have you doing?
Did you pick the Did you pick the internship, or was that something that just
they had me cleaning toilets? If there's one of the first guys that I just made a cold call. I saw this listing online, and this was like super bizarre. They're like, yeah, we're looking for cartoonists, and we're making these web. They made, I think, the first web cartoon.
Wow.
Spumco was before Flash animation even existed. It was basically used for, I think, website banners and like just very minimal like. I don't think it was ever thought of as an animation program, Flash.
Right. Yeah.
And John, because he's such a huge Flintstones and Hanna-Barbera fan, which is basically limited animation, he found a way to use Flash to really exercise that kind of animation. And limited animation was made because
really
Disney was doing the full animation, like Snow White and Cinderella.
Yeah.
And they wanted it for TV, but there's no way you could have that kind of quality with the turnaround of television. So held frames and stuff, like Family Guy's limited animation pretty much. Like, you'll have Peter Griffin talking to Stewie, and his head will be moving, but his body is staying still. So that's how that works out. So of course, when I explain animation, I always have to do voices, as you guys know.
Absolutely.
We're not going to make you be our voice.
No,
monkey.
we're not going to make
you're
you
our
dance.
guest.
Yeah, because we figure anytime sort of voice actors get interviewed for stuff, especially if they're animation, it's like, okay, so can you do that voice? Can you do that voice? No, but if you want to break into it, that's all good.
Do you remember that one episode of Hot Wheel Battle Force 5 when you were Scissor Bumblebee? Can you do that voice for me right now?
I actually do remember. And it goes a little something like, no, I'm just kidding.
So you get down, you do the cold call, which is something, kids, if you're out there and you're just in college and it's called initiative. It's called
That's right.
It's called taking
the bull by the horns,
It's something
which could have a double meaning, but we're talking about.
It's a lost art, though. It seems
it is a lost art.
So you make the call, and what
initiative? It's not one of those apps you could download on your phone. That's a new initiative app.
There's a T-shirt in there somewhere.
There's a commercial in there somewhere.
Okay, yeah, true. So you get this internship. Did the school say, but your radio, TV?
Oh yeah, like basically my old professor. I'm glad that you brought it up. He's a very nice man. I'm sure he's still around. His name's Ken Cassavoy. He's actually a news broadcaster for, I think, 680 News.
Okay.
680 CFTR, and he looked like Harrison Ford. He had like that gritty Han Solo,
and he just mumbled a lot.
Yeah, he basically, for a broadcaster, he said, it's very, very good to, very good to dream, but be realistic and find an internship in Toronto.
You'll be working in Wawa, Ontario.
Yeah.
That's right. Get used to it.
But it was fine because, I know that exactly what he was talking about, but I couldn't not try,
Absolutely.
Well, this thing, this is what you wanted to do, and some crazy fate thing, it stumbles in your lap. So
if you have the talent and you got the passion and you got the determination, you know what I mean? I mean, it's all there.
So you get down there and you do this internship, you clean the garbages, and
and the toilets.
Did you get preferential treatment because you were a Canadian boy?
They were speaking very slow to me, I think. The first 3 hours were spent getting poked by a stick, and no, it was fine. They had lots of questions about Canada, but
what were some of the funniest ones?
It wasn't so much the questions as much as I was starting weird rumors about our country. Like,
I see.
You're the guy. You're the reason why Disney World's Epcot is what it is for the Canadian Pavilion. Right?
Yes,
of course.
Pretty much that we don't have toilet paper. We'll just use a community tree stump.
Nice.
And,
interesting.
I mean, they were all like, very,
they'll buy it though because they
don't
will
buy it.
They will.
nothing about
Absolutely.
There was one more Canadian there before me, and he was actually working there at the time, Ben Jones, and he now works on this new Nickelodeon show called Pig, Goat, Banana Cricket. And
Pig, Goat, Banana Cricket.
And he was more of like, it's funny because that's like a comedy, and he was more of like an action-y comic book guy. He actually did a lot of good stuff at Warner Brothers Animation, and then decided to do comedy animation. But so I think that they were kind of privy to us Canadians before I showed up. But I really let them in on all of our secrets.
So you get it. So you get in there, and what do they actually have you doing? Is, I mean, most internships, it's pretty basic stuff. But were you just soaking everything in the non-fanboy kind of way?
Of course. Like, as soon as I get there, it's like, and let me say that I couldn't have done anything without my family out here. Luckily, my mom's brothers, two of my uncles live out here, and if it weren't for them, I really wouldn't have been able to do all the things that I have done.
So that makes the transition a lot easier as well.
Oh yeah, because I mean it's pricey to live out here, even
Absolutely.
back then. Like, and you're an intern and you're not getting paid,
and you're a college student, so you've got negative money to start with.
Yeah. That's right.
No driver's license, so like I had to learn how to take the bus here, which it's like.
And as far as your professor was concerned, no hope in hell. So I mean,
exactly.
You got a lot of things going against you right off the bat.
So I wish they had hand sanitizer. Wait, that hasn't been invented yet. So, it was just a lot of basic stuff. A lot of filing and scanning of storyboards, which was awesome because anyone that's a fan of animation, this was basically the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain moment where you're just kind of like exposed to how an animated production is run. And at Spunko, I mean, at the time it was very much like, it's always been described as like a frat house, like the School of Hard Knocks version of how to do cartoons, and all the stories that you heard about John Kay, like making cartoons, are all pretty much accurate. I mean, he's a crazy guy. I mean, I got to see and become friends with him, and he's just from Ottawa, he's another Ottawa kid, and I mean, but he got to live out his dream as well. He got to work with Hanna-Barbera and got to work on Jetsons before they finally canceled it. And I think a lot of the things that he worked on in the 80s, along with his colleagues at the time, really fueled why Ren and Stimpy was the way it was, because think about it. It's like the first generation of Spunko. These guys were all working on like Laverne and Shirley in the Army and Fat Albert and Transformers and Smurfs and Snorks and all the things that we probably grew up loving. Yeah. He kind of hated because he was like, oh, these are just long commercials for toys.
It's pap. That's all it is.
Yeah. So Ren and Stimpy was really like, a throwback to everything that he loved growing up as a kid, like all the original Looney Tunes and, all the old Hanna-Barbera and even older Disney stuff, that it was made just to be just
entertainment.
As a new art form and just,
so when
just
was
to
that,
be what it was.
When was that moment, Eric, when, you get to California and you have all these things that, all these sort of questions, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? I feel like I'm supposed to be here. When was that moment when you sort of began to realize that, yes, I've made the right choice. I'm in the right spot. I'm supposed to be here? Because I can imagine at first, just being in that environment, it's the positive energy of that sort of an environment would be just absolutely infectious.
I think that's the thing. It's like, I was gonna say when I got here, I mean, I'm like, oh, California. I'd been here once when I was like really young and with my family on vacation. But I kind of got it as soon as I got here. I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go to Spunko. I'm gonna get this internship. It was like the middle of August. There's a friggin' heat wave, and I'm like, oh, I know what to do. I'll wear long pants, a suit, a dress shirt. Like I show up to this like grungy animation studio in like a full 3-piece suit, pretty much like the tuxedos in Dumb and Dumber, and
like a good college intern should.
A good baby blue tuxedo,
like black shoe polish in my hair and slick down. And the guy interviewing me is wearing like flip flop shorts and a t-shirt, like staring at me like I'm like
Canadian
door salesman.
You're such a keener. That's it's like
totally. And that was pretty much the attitude that like got me through. Like, I think just being that Canadian, polite, very courteous and very
eager to do whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
Of course. And they're all like, this guy's crazy.
But what was that moment for you? Because, I mean, you obviously felt it, that you wanted to be there. You wanted to have the opportunity. You wouldn't have made the choice if you didn't feel that you needed to be there. But there's always that voice in the back of your head where it's like, I hope this is going to work. I feel like I'm doing the right thing.
I think
is there a particular moment where you suddenly thought, you know what, I've done it, I'm supposed to be here?
I think it was like, okay, I got here, and the first thing I thought of was like, okay, I got to get a voice demo reel together. I didn't even know what the standard was.
Right.
But I was like, I need to get my voice demo to John somehow, and
right.
And every time, like, he's like, oh, again, doing PA tasks, like making sure all of his supplies were up to speed and everything was in order in his office, I would, like, literally place my audio cassette, my demo reel, which was probably, like, 8 minutes too long. Like,
so you're like Jonah Hill in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh,
yeah, pretty much.
You got the I just want to play this. You can listen whenever you want to.
Yes, exactly. And I was the same shape as well. Back then I was
actually. I was almost going to say I should have the wrong reference. I should have said you're like Joey Jeremiah dropping the Zit Remedies tape off.
Joey Jeremiah, who actually spoke. Wow. He actually spoke at my college graduation. because the campus that I was at, the Bell Center, it was called the Bell Center. It was actually going to be called, I think John Candy was going to sponsor it at one point, right. And then that fell through. But the campus that I went to school at was the same campus where they shot Degrassi Jr. And the same neighborhood where they shot Kids in the Hall, like the intro, It's like Pape, like little Greek town, I guess it's like Pape and Mortimer area. It's so historic to our Canadian Canadian production gene
culture.
So anyway, so similar to that. So you put this extremely long audition tape because at that point, obviously, you have no clue like what I should do as far as I can do voices.
Oh yeah. And then, and so I would always put it on his desk, and I'd always find it like shoved somewhere, like off to the side. And he would never, ever like talk to me about it. I'm like, hey, so did you hear my Barney Rubble impression? Eh, like it's pretty good, huh? He's like, I need Diet Coke in my mini fridge. That's all I need from you. But eventually, that turning point for me was I finally got to do a voice on the Ripping Friends, and I thought, man, this is insane, but
absolutely,
as anyone that gets that one shot, you're like, oh, I did it. I guess this is when it all happens. And of course nothing happens, right. I didn't have an agent. I went back to Canada and I continued to work on the show on the Canadian side because it was actually co-produced with a company called Cambium, who actually produced the Sharon, Lois, and Bram show, the Elephant Show. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yes, I do.
And I was at those offices, and I worked there for a bit. And then when that dried up, I was pretty much unemployed, and I didn't know what to do. And then they made new Ren and Stimpy's, and that was done in Ottawa. So I moved to Ottawa for like 2 years. And
now, what year would this have been?
This was like 2003, and it was for a little channel known as Spike TV back then.
Oh yes, I think I remember this.
Yes,
They're like, we know what men want. They want
They want women.
They want gay Ren and Stimpy. They want Stripperella, which was Pamela Anderson's cartoon.
Oh, I remember that.
And then they're like, and we want Gary the Rat, which was Kelsey Grammer's cartoon.
I don't.
So it was the weirdest experience, because it's like, as a diehard fan of the original Ren and Stimpy, it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be the same, because the first round of Spumco was a bunch of like-minded, same-aged individuals out there to prove a point. And after that original team disbanded, every year of Spumco kept getting it was John and like a bunch of younger kids eager to learn, and it was like a student-teacher situation,
Oh, okay.
So I felt like it was fun, and you definitely, when the creator of like a hit show like that calls you up and says, "Hey, you want to work on this?" And
yes,
you cut your, it's like those Fruity Pebbles commercials, or Bugs Bunny selling a Visa or MasterCard. It's like, it's never going to be the same as the original, but you have to do it. You have to do it, and that's when that's when it all started to come back into fruition. As much as a lot of people give that studio Spumco like a lot of flack for just being wild and crazy, it really did bring together a lot of talented people, people. Aaron Springer, who was one of John's like proteges and best employees. He did like a ton of storyboards on that SpongeBob SquarePants movie and a lot of the original SpongeBob's, and Matt Danner, who at the time I knew him, he was just like one of the best character layout artists, and now he's like developing stuff for like Mattel and Disney and Warner Brothers. I mean, he's done it all, and these are all the people that I went up with. So it's kind of like, you never know what is going to happen when you do stuff like this, and you kind of just do it blindly, hoping that things work out.
Now, when you were quote unquote unemployed, were you doing anything as far as like taking workshops? Were you working on the voice stuff, or were you just kind of like sitting in your room, going, "Oh man, I'm just going to do all these voices"?
Why isn't it happening?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there are, like, to be fair, there are a lot of people, and I mean, especially now up here, there are a lot of voice actors that want to get into animation who, they don't have the agency, representation. Most of the stuff up here, animation-wise, is still ACTRA.
Yes.
There's a fair amount of non-union stuff that's coming through, but there are a lot of people that don't really know what can I do to further my lot. Now, when you were in that position, what were you doing in between?
Oh man, it was just like, again, a lot of luck. I was not a part of any actor union when I was doing, when I wanted to do voices, and then anytime that like someone had an official SAG or AFTRA or ACTRA production, it just worked out, and it's unbelievable because it's one of the hardest things to.
You totally suck, man. Seriously.
I swear to God.
God, there's no real like story of
there's
like comeback, or there's
in his butt.
No. Nothing. It's just all. I'm just that good. Damn it!
It's everyone just count backwards from 5. Everything will be okay. No, I swear to God, I never and. I never had a professional or traditional acting training, and I never went to school for theatrical or dramatic arts. I always just wanted to do it, and people knew that I could do voices. But yeah, no, like the harsh truth came to one, when I finally landed the big agent here in LA, another voice director had contacted my agent and did say, they're like, yeah, he's nice and he's good at voices, but he's just a terrible actor. So
wow.
I learned like the hard way. I was like, okay, obviously, like I won't fight you on that because it's true. It's true. I was, like, so what? So what if I could do a Homer Simpson impression? The guy who does Homer is still alive.
Which is we've actually had that exact conversation about that. That's right.
Everybody and their mother can do the standard voices, and they will shop a demo around with just those small snippets of voices. But to be able to, well, first of all, Homer is still alive, very much so.
That's right.
But to be able to sustain a character over more than just a soundbite, that's
not only
that's
that,
when it's really tricky.
Being able to create your own characters, I think, is what most casting directors are looking for. They show you the picture and give you a script and let you kind of bring it to life, not just do a rehash of an existing voice.
Yeah, it's basically like you have to just kind of understand what it takes to break apart someone's personality at that point, because they kind of hand you that description. Like if you get audition sides, they'll give you the age, they could give you ethnicity. Pictures always help because you can kind of embody the physicality. But and it's the way I did it too, as far as like landing roles without the agent. The first real American gig that I'd like to talk about in particular was El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera. That was a cartoon that was very short-lived on Nickelodeon. And that was like insane to me that, they had no idea. We're talking about like a studio, Nickelodeon, that's been up for like decades and have produced so many good shows. This couple at the time, Sandra Ikiwa and Jorge Gutierrez. Now Jorge has a movie coming out very soon that he produced with Guillermo del Toro called Book of the Dead, Book of Life. They're like, we can't really have the word dead in a kid's movie. So,
it won't sell.
Like, what else could we call it? What's the opposite of dead? Yeah, Book of Rainbows. But it's very dark, and it's Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead meets Romeo and Juliet, and it has a very like, they're from Tijuana, Mexico, and they're very proud of their culture, so they're making stuff like that, and they made that show El Tigre about a boy who has a father that is a hero and a grandfather that's a retired supervillain, and he doesn't know if he wants to be good or bad. And it was really funny, very beautiful show, and Nickelodeon was like, who the hell is this guy? They're like, I don't care, I think that they really did try to not have me on the show because and I don't blame them because who was this kid? Right. He's good, but we don't know if he's gonna just like, as soon as we get all the paperwork squared away, he was gonna crap out on us, and
right.
Luckily, I didn't.
Good move on your part.
Absolutely, yes.
So the voice for that was very much a Ricardo Montalban impression. So I played the father of El Tigre.
And, my first day of work on that was with Carlos Alazraqui, who was the voice of the Taco Bell Chihuahua and Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life.
Oh, yes.
He was on Reno 911.
Oh, yeah.
Gray Delisle, of course, who's like the voice of everything.
Yeah. I love hearing a professional actor say, and so Gray Delisle, the voice of everything,
the voice of Earth,
yes.
and Alana Ubach, who was on Beekman's World, and she was on lots of movies at that point, and. It was kind of like, God, I'm going to throw up all over myself right now.
Well, I'm actually I'm looking at the entry on Wikipedia for El Tigre, and just some of the additional voices. You must have been so starstruck when when these people are walking through the door, like for a couple characters or a few episodes. It's like it's not enough that the principal cast is made up of these veterans, but just when Jack Angel walks through the door, John DiMaggio, Phil LaMarr, Candy Milo, like all these people.
Oh yeah, and it's so crazy. They are now like buddies, which is insane to me. Like, I remember meeting John DiMaggio the first time, and he played a character on El Tigre named El Oso, which is the bear, and he's like this huge, larger than life personality that lights up the room. And how could you even, like, I'm just thinking about how much I missed Tim Hortons.
I want is a double-double. Like, oh my God.
All I want is an ice cap and a big box of Timbits. That's all I want. All I want to do is roll up the rim right now. And I can't even do that because John DiMaggio is making all sorts of funny jokes. Like, and I mean, like, I was such a huge super Futurama fan, and at that point, you're kind of in the room and you're with these guys, with them, working, running scenes with them, and you can't, for a second, like, geek out. But but look, he's like, hey, man, you're real funny. I think you could do lots of voices on this cartoon here. It's kind of amazing what you can do. I wouldn't expect that voice to come out of a little Filipino kid from Canada.
So that's amazing, because then you're just sitting there going, holy crap. Like, now, do you get that moment where you're like, okay, as I've got the voices, I've got all this, I've been told that, my acting chops aren't there. Do you have that moment of doubt where it's like, oh God, I better snap into this and figure out a way to do more than just fake it type thing?
It was pretty much like, okay, I should definitely take a course now. So I went to just this like really 8 week. They have tons of them out here, and some of them good, some of them bad. This one was recommended to me by my agent because they do a lot of commercials, and that's another thing that I've yet to break into. I am not good at commercials. I don't know what it is.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just terrible. I don't know what it is. I just feel maybe there's a part of me that feels like guilty for, some commercials that you hear are really good nowadays, but at the time when I first started, it was very specific, and there was something about it that I just couldn't get into, and I still haven't been able to.
Wow.
So after,
unless it's something cartoony, then I'm all over it. But
you sound like you could pull off the average Joe. Like, I mean, the young and hip guy seems to be, the flavor.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's a fast food restaurant called Carl's Jr. out here.
Yeah. Oh, Carl's Jr. And, they've got the best TV ads. I gotta say,
they have good TV ads. The radio ads are something else, though. Cause it's just one guy talking like this the whole time. Like, hey, I want like a Kaluki burger with the pineapple slice on my bun. It's like, I'm like, there's something about it.
Do you feel like dirty? You feel like you're prostituting yourself? Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, for those of you that are doing it and making it sound amazing and like easy, that's more power to you. Like, take all those gigs, because I don't know. Like, I guess it's just not for me. And
but that's the thing. You probably, I think I see a lot of actors that try to do too many things when if they focused on being on one good thing, like what their strengths are. Right. I think a lot of these, because now in the world of, internet, pay to play, all this stuff, you've got so many voice actors that are doing a bunch of different things because they're just trying to grab something that works.
Oh my God. I was just having a conversation with somebody about that yesterday, where it's like, there's just so much stuff being made nowadays. Like, so much stuff. New channels, if there's a screen that's big enough or small enough that you can have in your pocket or on a TV in a sports bar somewhere, they're going to make more show. It's so much.
The opportunity is there. But if you know what you're good at, or if you figured out what Dave's always saying, find your voice. When you find your voice, then, you'll have a happier career or more success. Yeah, because you're focusing on stuff that you're good at. Sure, you can play. Like, if you wanted to do commercials, dude, you could easily snag something. But your bread and butter, your wheelhouse is what you're doing now. Yeah. So that's to be able to know, to have that knowledge that this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, that's a place where I think a lot of thousands of actors would want to get to.
A lot of people aren't there.
Don't know. No, it's totally true. I think it's great.
When you said find your voice, I think that's like the most important thing, and it's that simple. Like, I think it was the same way with stand-up. I was doing stand-up while I was out here for about like a year and a bit, and I just couldn't do it. I think a lot of people were expecting me to do like impressions and rely on that. Yeah. And one of the first guys that I got to do stand-up for, he asked me to open for him, was Harland Williams, another Canadian
boy.
Sevens, man, sevens.
Yeah. He's like, hey, you're pretty funny. You should probably do some stand-up for me. What do you think, huh?
Tell me you did your Harland Williams for him.
I've done a Harland for him. It's brilliant. If you've ever seen him on stage, he kind of like moves around like Frankenstein. Like, he just flails his legs and arms. My favorite joke, he goes, hey, you ever go home and cut open a big head of lettuce and rub it in your hair and run around and say that you're a salad monster? And then the person in the crowd goes, no. And he goes, you will. It's amazing exactly what you said, finding your voice, because that's a perfect example of a guy that's found his voice and
absolutely
has made it work for him so well. Because I watched him do 2 sets back to back, and they were all the same jokes, but they were 2 completely different sets. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And his crowd work is just insane. And he's like, hey, how come you weren't doing your Yogi Bear impression? How come you weren't doing the farting thing that you do so well? And I was like, I don't know. I just didn't want to feel like that was the only thing that I didn't want to be that guy that was like, oh, here's so-and-so. But if Scarface were the captain of the Enterprise,
No, you're right.
Believe me, it's like, it's funny when you hear it. But for me, I just didn't know. I was kind of confused. I was doing more offbeat stuff, like I think I was doing Richard Dreyfuss and Winnie the Pooh stuck on the freeway.
Oh, good. Okay.
Mr. Dreyfuss, I have to use the bathroom.
Oh, Winnie, I just had my seats cleaned, okay?
Mr. Dreyfuss, I got a turtle head poking.
Mr. Holland's O-Poo. That's awesome. Nice.
There you
Mr.
go.
Holland's O-Poo. Oh, I like that.
Got it.
That's
it.
So now, was stand-up something? Now, was that something you did because you wanted to do it, or was that like, I love doing the animation. I'm bored. Hey, I'll do stand-up.
Again, a lot of it too was like working with Carlos, and he was doing lots of stand-up and still does stand-up, and he kills it every time. Again, it's this weird thing where you see it and it's so close to you, and then you try it, and I wasn't like terrible at it, but it wasn't the first thing that I thought of when I got up in the morning.
Yeah.
It was kind of like,
walk around with crib notes like as you're standing at Starbucks going, oh wow, I need to write this down.
Yeah. And I think like when it's like that, when your passion is like, I got to write this down and do that, like that's when it's supposed to, that's when it works. But I see stand-ups that constantly go out that just want the attention, and it becomes like sad and desperate. And
well, I think that's one of the problems, right?
Sounds like my career. Sad and desperate.
Oh man,
no, it does.
That's what I had for lunch today.
Well, that seems like that would be on the menu a lot in LA. That there are a lot of actors, and I'm sure you've seen it now, where a lot of guys in your position that come out to LA that have big dreams, big visions of doing what you do. Do you get people coming like that you come across maybe in auditions that say, hey, what can I do? Like, can you help a brother out type thing?
I do as much as I can to help anyone that has any questions, whether I've met you online or not at all, or if you've been my friend for 7-10 years, or I just met you last week. I just feel like if you have a question, then that's enough. That's enough for me, like that's how I got started, was with questions, and I wish that I had, and I did have people. I'm never going to discount anyone that's ever helped me out or gave me a chance even for a second to try at least. And if anyone like has any questions that are unsure, it's like, who knows, it may or may not be something that you'd like. you know, like, but at least you tried, you know, like there's always that side of it where it's like, well, maybe because I worked in animation for like back and forth between voiceover and animation. It's only been like the last 4 years where it's been full time. Right. I was working a lot at this amazing animation studio in Hollywood named 6 Point Harness, and they're actually the ones that are producing like a lot of the 2D animation for Cosmos, that new show on Fox.
Oh yeah.
They do like a lot of the hand drawn like animation, and I worked for you know, Jeff Ross, the Roastmaster General. Wow. Jeff Ross. I actually got him to do my brother's. I got him to roast my brother on film for my brother's wedding.
Brilliant.
That's amazing.
You know, he's like, hey, how's it going, Bauza? I was like, hey, do you think you could roast my bro? Like, you know, he's like, yeah, no problem. What does he like? What does he doesn't like? You know? So I filmed him, and everyone freaked out at the wedding because they're like, holy shit, you know, like.
So, but to you now, like in your position, do you sort of step back once in a while and go, holy shit, like these are the guys that I'm now buddies with, like people that 5-10 years ago I'd be like watching on screen and hearing and be like, oh my god, if I could meet these people.
For instance, like people like Harlan and Jeff are crazy because, you know, stand up like we had just discussed, it's like definitely you got to put in your hours and your time, and if it works out, it works out. Yeah. And these guys, they'll play, you know, the Universal Amphitheater, and then they'll go play the coffee shop just down the street. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like a career that you start from the very bottom and you work your way to the top, and Absolutely. You never forget especially if that's, you know, all you've ever loved to do. It's like you never forget the hard times. You appreciate the good times, but it's like it's really hard to forget like those times where you're kind of just like, man, is this what I want to do? And then for the times where, you know, you're there and you're kind of meeting and working with these people, like for instance, I do voices on Ninja Turtles, the Nickelodeon show, and just on Monday actually, it was the first time I ever got to work with Sean Astin, because as he provides the voice for Raphael, and it's like I'm sitting right behind Mikey from the Goonies, but I'm not gonna
now I've just soiled myself. I have to excuse myself for a moment.
No, you're saying you say Goonies, and I probably would have been like, I'm sitting behind Rudy Rudiger right now.
Rudy, or you know, friggin' Sam from Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so we're gonna cut it there. So again, we're pulling back the curtains here behind the scenes because we did do this.
There's so much more to do.
Yeah, and we just wanted to find a good place to sort of stop. I think that's a good place. So what we're going to do is that is the end of part 1 of our interview with Eric Bauza.
Yeah, 10A.
10A. And 10B will be in our next episode. But we're going to come up and we're going to come back and wrap up this episode, the 10A episode of our anniversary. I don't know, extended edition. 10th show. So we'll wrap that up right after this on the AmiVO's and Friends. See, now I'm all mellow because I had to think. When I get mellow. On the AmiVO's and Friends Super-Funtastic Happy Hour Vodcast.
In a world where your only desire is to find the best wings ever, All-Star Wings and Ribs brings you, well, the best wings ever. Tremble before the 200 flavors of mouth-watering wings. Marvel at the 8 years in a row they've been voted #1 best wings. Thrill to the exciting sports action on 84 big screens. Show student ID or bring your sports team for killer deals. Check local listings at allstarwingsandribs.com. Rated D for delicious. All-Star Wings and Ribs. Let's face it, all in.
And now, the AmiVO's and Friends Super-Funtastic Happy Hour Vodcast.
Everyone ready?
Yeah.
Hit it.
Welcome back to the AmiVO's and Friends Super-Funtastic Happy Hour Vodcast. So ends part 1 of our discussion.
This interview has got to be, so far, one of the most fun that we've had.
I had no idea that when Eric so graciously agreed to join us, that we would talk this long and that it would be so much fun and so entertaining, and that it would become our very first two-parter.
Well, and I think it's only fair.
I like the way you said that.
As our 10th, because we had been thinking about, okay, for our 10th podcast, we were going to do something, we want to get
get something really big.
Something gravitas.
Yeah, it's really kind of
and it was also coming on the 1 year anniversry of us putting the AmiVO's together.
That's right.
And when Garnet said, Eric Bauza.
Well, at first, I didn't know the name.
No.
And I was like, wow, and he's Canadian. There's a Canadian connection.
What a fun sort of start to this interview.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, there's lots more.
There's lots more. And not only is it just talking about what he's done, but getting into some things that people that want to get into animation.
That's right.
That might be at a position in their career where they're like, I'd love to get to LA. How do I do this? There's some stuff that he talks about.
Well, and you know what I really like about Eric is that he comes from that real, genuine, honest approach.
It's a love for what he does.
There's a love for what he does. There's no ego attached to it. There's no.
Because he's Canadian. That's why.
Yeah, and that probably.
If he had an ego, he would apologize for having the ego.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I totally forgot about that.
Very, very cool start to this interview, and the second half equally as good. And can't wait to get that up as well. So,
it's great stuff.
That will wrap up this the first part of our first two-parter on our 10th episode of.
So this will be episode 10A and then episode 10B.
How do we do this? Do we call it
episode
10A,
10 and then episode 11? Or
10.0 and 10.1?
10.0. I don't know.
10 point.
They're both 10s.
Episode 10 part
they're
1.
10s.
Episode 10 part 2.
See, when you start talking episode 10, then I think we need some lens flare or something in here. J.J. Abrams. No.
No, but okay, well, you know what? I actually think we should do it as like a 10 part 1
extended
part 2.
10.
Yes, an extended 10.
Extended 10.
An extended 10.
Wasn't that a Ron Jeremy movie?
Yeah. I was thinking that and then didn't go there. If you would like some more...
It was a Ron Jeremy movie, actually. I watched it.
If you would like some more information, please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. If you haven't, please do. Otherwise, you can check the website, 3amivos.com. If you would like to get a hold of us, 3amivos@gmail.com. Individually, though, we all have our own separate spaces aside from this. The Voice Man with 2 N's.
.com or DaveMcRae.ca.
WilliamsVoiceovers.com, which is has the site been revamped now?
No.
Not yet. So he's starting to follow in.
But soon.
Now, but wait.
Yeah.
Your site.
My site, okay, here's the thing.
MPVoiceovers.com?
MPVoiceovers.com
is it up?
It's live. It's actually there.
So allthingsmike.ca is gone?
No, it's still there. If you go... if you still go to that, it'll redirect to the new one. So
Mike Pongracz.
Oh, for the love of God! Okay, that's it.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen.
For AmiVO Dave McRae to my left.
Oh, goodbye! Ole!
And AmiVO Garnet Williams in front of me.
Ole!
I am AmiVO Mike Pongracz. Thank you so much for joining us. Be back for extended 10, and in the meantime, we bid you all.
Are we going to watch the movie?
We bid you all a very hearty ole!
We are finished. We are over. It's over.
The AmiVO's and Friends Super-Funtastic Happy Hour Vodcast has been brought to you by the 3 AmiVO's.
Show's over.
It was written, recorded, edited, and produced from deep within the Great White North by Dave McRae, Garnet Williams, and Mike Pongracz.
Are we going bye-bye?
For more AmiVO fun, questions, or comments, check us out online at 3amivos.com. On Twitter at the 3amivos. Until next time.